Thomas the Tank Engine was grumbling to the other engines. The other engines laughed. They said Thomas. One night, he and Henry were alone. Henry was ill. The men worked hard, but he didn't get better. He felt just as bad next morning. Henry usually pulled the first train, and Thomas had to get his coaches ready. He thought. Thomas ran to find the coaches. He fussed. They grumbled. Thomas took them to the platform and wanted to run around in front at once. But his driver wouldn't let him. Thomas waited and waited. The people got in. The guard and station master walked up and down. The porter banged the doors. And still Henry didn't come. Thomas got more and more excited. The Fat Controller came to see what was the matter, and the guard and the station master told him about Henry. He ordered. They said. So Thomas ran round to the front and back down on the coaches, ready to start. Said his driver. But Thomas was too excited to listen. What happened then, no one knows. Perhaps they forgot to couple Thomas to the train, or perhaps the driver pulled the lever by mistake. Anyhow, Thomas started. As he passed the first signal box, men waved and shouted, but he didn't stop. He thought importantly. He puffed, pretending to be like Gordon. And he whistled. Then he came to a signal at danger. He thought. He blew an angry beep beep on his whistle. The signalman ran up. He said Thomas. Thomas looked back. He said the signalman. Poor Thomas was so sad he nearly cried. Said his driver. At the station, all the passengers were talking at once. They were telling the Fat Controller what a bad railway it was. But when Thomas came back, they saw how sad he was and couldn't be cross. He was coupled to the train, and this time he really pulled it. But for a long time afterwards, the other engines laughed at Thomas and said, "Look, there's Thomas who wanted to pull a train, but forgot about the coaches."